Call this meeting to order. I'm going to start off with reading the land acknowledgement. On Thursday, August the 8th, 24, we acknowledge this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been the site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich Indigenous history. The land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of the broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. I'm John Wanless, Chairman of the Planning Advisory Committee. I'll now take attendance. Jay Brennan.
Present.
Steve Robinson.
Present.
Yvonne Robert.
Present.
Steve.
Present.
Okay, can I have approval, motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Steve, seconded by Jay. All in favor? I need a motion for the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting, May the 9th, 2024. Moved by Yvonne, seconded by Jay. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of monetary interests. We'll now move into the public section for the minor variance of application MV-24-03 34 William Street East. The application in applying for minor variance is a request relief from the following sections of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw. Sections 4.29.1, alternative building setbacks in residential zones, for proposed front yard setback of 1.14 meters, and 2, section 12.2.1, lot building requirements for non-residential buildings. Table 12.1, lot and building requirements for non-residential buildings. For a proposal interior side yard setback of 1.5, the applicant requests relief to accommodate the construction of a proposed 3-story mixed-use development with 2 ground floor commercial units and 5 residential units on the site. The subject property is zoned downtown fringe and designated downtown core in the town's official plan. This development may be subject to site plan control. This meeting is your opportunity to provide any feedback on this application, and the Planning Advisory Committee welcomes any questions and comments you may have. We encourage you to do so at this public meeting, as the Planning Act rules suggest that the public's ability to voice objections later in the process may be limited if a written or oral comment is not submitted. Town Council is the approval authority for the applications of the amendments to the zoning bylaw. The committee will review the application and any comments or concerns from the public to inform the recommendation to Council for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. I will now pass the meeting over to Planner 1 Richard Grant to report on the notification and summary of minor variance application MV-24-03 34 William Street East. Following this presentation, we will open the floor to comments from the public. The applicants or their agent in attendance will also have an opportunity to address any concerns brought to the floor by the public. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Right. As you can see here is the site map for the subject property. In black is the subject property for 34 William Street East. To accommodate the construction of a proposed 3-story mixed-use development with 2 ground floor commercial units and 5 units on site, The applicants request relief from section 4.21, alternative building setbacks in residential zones, for proposed front yard setback of 1.4 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum of 3 meters for the front yard. And section 12.1, 2.1 for lot building requirements for non-residential buildings, for a proposed interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum of 3 meters. Here we can see the latest site sketch, which shows the proposed development in gray here. It's harder to see on this map because it is so small to view, but in the rear we have the parking on the interior side. On the left-hand side would be the driving aisle, and on the other side would be the interior side and the front yard. So the application, a submitted application was completed in July. The requested reliefs are intended to facilitate a proposed lot configuration and building envelope for the mixed-use development. Parking in the rear will be accessible from William Street East through a 3-meter wide paved driveway. The existing single-attached dwelling is slated to be demolished to accommodate the proposed development. If approved, the mixed-use development may be subject to site plan control. Here are the images we took for the site visit to the property, and here we can see the existing house on the development here. In terms of public consultation, there's feedback from Public Works and the chief building official. The chief building official does not object to the proposal and advises that the applicant provide an exposed building phase calculation for all elevations prior to submitting a building permit, and this is a typical Ontario Building Code requirement. So this does not change the nature of what is proposed. This is just an additional comment provided. The Public Works Department, does not object to this proposal as well, and requires a grading and drainage plan and a stormwater management brief as a condition of approval, advising on implementing low-impact development techniques such as French drains around the perimeter, interlock pavers for the proposed parking lot area for permeable surface, and soaker pits at the East Charleston site to reduce any potential stormwater runoff. Now, Section 45 of the Planning Act requires for a test to be met by the committee to grant a minor variance. Now, the first test is application conforming to the general intent of the official plan. Staff are of the opinion that the application conforms to the general intent of the official plan because it meets official plan policy LU 4.1 to 4.4 regarding the proposed mixed-use development in the downtown core being appropriate in use, height, and the compatibility within the neighborhood. The built form of the proposed development is not necessarily consistent with the existing character because it is taller than what's existing nearby, but it is compatible with OP's designation with the downtown core in the sense that it allows for commercial uses to be in the downtown fringe. Staff are of the opinion that the application largely conforms to the general intent of the comprehensive zoning bylaw because the requested front yard setback of 1.4 meters, although less than the required 3 meters for the alternative building setback, represents a true average of the buildings along the street side on William Street East, maintains an attractive street presence with a reduced front yard setback, and the proposed three-story height is only compliant and does not result in an overly built site with respect to the size and massing of the proposed development. Also, the requested interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters, although less than the required 3 meters for the interior side yard, still allows for sufficient space for sunlight, fire separation from buildings, and on-site pedestrian movement, as it is maintained that the width of 1.23 meters is only 0.75 meters less than the required 3 meters. So in short, the small amount of space that is reduced still allows for movement on the site, and as well as fire separation and for sunlight to be seen. In addition, the adjacent property to the right of the subject property that's going towards Queen Street has a driveway that runs parallel to the interior side yard of the proposed development, providing even more space between the two buildings. And as recommended by Public Works, the use of LED techniques can help reduce any potential impacts from stormwater runoff on site. Test for number 3, staff are of the opinion that the application is desirable for the appropriate lands. because it represents an individual opportunity to establish mixed uses in the downtown fringe in keeping with the goals of the downtown core designation. And the requested release facilitate the creation of a proposed development, which is desirable in its ability to functionally improve the existing lot and represent an example of a compact urban form with respect to proposed location and property configuration. The 3-story height of the proposed development, although a story taller than any existing development along William Street East, is still appropriate for the mixed-use envelopes in the downtown fringe. With respect to if the application is minor in impact and nature, the staff are of the opinion that it does not change the mixed-use character of the neighborhood. The height of the proposed development is within the allowable height of the downtown fringe, between 2 to 6 stories, and the street presence of the proposed development is not seen by staff to be negatively impacted with a reduced front yard, as is the average of the building setback of the subject properties along the same streets. As discussed before, Public Works does not object to the application and only advises that a grading and drainage plan be required, as well as stormwater management brief as a condition of approval, in addition to incorporating LID techniques to reduce stormwater runoff. And as discussed previously, with the incorporation of LID techniques, the foreseeable impacts with relates to stormwater runoff should be minimized. Planning staff believe that the proposal represents a reasonable construction of a proposed mixed-use development and can be demonstrated to meet the 4 tests set up by the Planning Act. On this following slide are the set of conditions for approval. So the first one is that the required setbacks be proposed. The required setbacks would be followed in accordance with the site plan attached to the application, and that the applicant provide the grading and drainage plan and stormwater management brief to ensure zero net runoff on neighboring properties. To mitigate stormwater runoff, the applicant must incorporate low-impact development techniques to manage stormwater runoff. The applicant must provide a grading and drainage plan and stormwater management brief to define LID methodologies and net zero runoff to the satisfaction of Public Works and Utilities, and be implemented through an agreement between the town and the applicant. Thirdly, the applicant shall confirm to the satisfaction of the town that the new development approved to this application is constructed as approved with a new survey, and that the decision outlined above is valid for 2 years from the date of issue. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thanks, Richard. We will follow up with an opportunity for the public to speak to the question. All comments and questions need to be addressed through the chair. Please be advised that the verbal comments from part of the public record, and as such, we ask that you please slate your name, address before providing verbal comment. Any members of the public who wish to speak to this application are asked to please approach the podium one at a time. Jason?
So I'm Jason St. Germain. I live at 35 Russell Street. I just had a question about the garage in the back of that property. Is probably slated to be demoed as well, I'd assume, because currently it's the property divide. So like I can see at the back of my property, there's like a 4-bay garage there. I'm assuming that's going to go for parking, right?
Oh, interesting.
So I'm just concerned about extra traffic back there with the parking. And if we lose that garage or some kind of noise barrier, it's going to be pretty loud back there. I'm assuming it's going to be demolished, right, for the parking, so.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So right now, the application is really just looking at the 2 setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But through the site plan control process, there will be a fence put up for the property line between your boundary and the property that's there.
Yep.
So for the proposed parking lot where that would be, there'd be sufficient fencing along so that you won't even notice the parking lot.
Okay. You're obviously still in the planning stages, but are you just talking like your standard 8-foot fence kind of deal, or? Okay.
Jay?
Yeah, a question and a comment. So how many parking spots, is it 7 parking spots? And then in terms of what the fence is going to look like, that would be at the site plan stage. So I think that's been noted. And then when we get to that point, then
And again there.
that's a good point to make, and I'm glad you came.
I actually have another question too. I noticed on your plan for the site, there's also garbage disposal in the back that's enclosed. I assume that'll be for garbage truck pickup as well through there, or brought to the street?
So that's still in site plan stage, so we haven't really finalized it. The idea is that it would be located in the rear and then brought to the front.
Okay. Perfect. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, do the owners or agents have anything to say here?
With me?
He asked if you have anything to say.
No, I've got.
No, I'm good.
Like,
Okay. Okay, I'll now ask if,
actually, the concern is about the back. You are on the other side of the garage.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, because he's on the other side of the garage, that shouldn't be a concern, because the wall, we already have about 8-foot wall. And that wall is not getting demolished, so we have a barrier.
That 8-foot wall you're talking about, that's the cinder block wall you're talking
Yeah.
about? So that's part of the existing garage, I
Yes,
believe, right?
that's not, the wall is not gonna be demolished.
So the cinder block wall is potentially
Yeah,
staying?
you will still have your privacy, and you won't even see the cars.
So we're demolishing the 3 walls of the
We
garage
are
and keeping the
demolishing,
back,
we are demolishing the garage ceiling, but we are leaving the wall.
the retaining wall.
Yes, because in the future, we might even cover that, so those cars will be covered.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
I'll ask if there are any questions or comments from the committee members. You on?
No.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, I just, a question for Richard, I guess.
Yep.
When we get to site plan, and we just talked about what the parking was gonna be like, any other issues that we can, that will be addressed at site plan, i.e. landscaping and that sort of thing, is that for?
That's right.
Correct.
That's right. So landscaping will be addressed as well as parking lot configuration and just allowing for adequate snow removal.
Yeah. So all we're talking about now is just the setbacks.
Just the
themselves.
setbacks. That's right.
Because it fits within the official plan and the forecast that you talked about, so it's all good that way. It's just, we just need to give a minor variance for the distance from the front and then the side.
Yes, that's right.
So I support it. I think it's a great fit for that area, and we need intensification downtown, and we need more people to live downtown, and a couple of commercial spaces are a bonus too. So I support it.
Stephen?
Thanks. Just a quick question, Richard.
Mhm.
The 1.5 meters or 1.14 meters.
That's right, for the front yard?
Setback from the front yard. That would just basically bring that in line with the rotating rug rental and the building next to that, correct?
Yes.
So it's not really going to affect anything.
No, so essentially what the idea is that it was really the average of the buildings along William Street East. Now I know that, say, further along William, most of the houses are residential and they set back a bit further. But then as you look at the building for the rug rental and the building beside it, which is like the residential building in white, they're closer to the front. So this is really just an average of between the entire street.
I was just looking at Google Street View, and that's kind of what I was wondering, if it was going to be pulled in like
Yes.
close to that, because I don't see any problem with that at all. So I support the recommendation.
The committee is tasked with making a decision in this minor variance application. If the committee is ready to do so, I will now entertain a motion to approve, not approve, or any other decision. Yvonne?
I move a motion to accept the 4 recommendations as set out by Richard up on the screen.
There's a draft motion there.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the whole thing off?
It's necessary.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Moved by
I have a proposed,
Yeah, I think we saw it. It's part of, it's just a recommendation basically, right?
Yes.
well, he read through it when he was going
Yeah,
through
it's
the
up on the
recommendation, yeah.
We don't need to read.
Okay. Motion was moved by Yvonne, seconded by Steve. All in favor? Carried. Thank you for attending and participating in the planning process for this application MV-24-03. Anyone requiring further notice regarding the application is asked to leave their full name and mailing or email address in the sign-in sheet located at the table by the door. Appeal rights are prescribed by the Planning Act, will be outlined in the notice of decision. If you have any questions on this application or the process, I invite you to get in touch with our Planner 1 or Planning Clerk. This concludes the public meeting portion of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We will now move to the next item on our agenda. Item number 6, priority issues. We don't have any. Project updates. Official plan, project update. Yvonne Robert.
I just thought I'd bring the Planning Advisory Committee up to date on what's been going on with the Official Plan Steering Committee, which is made up primarily of members of staff representing transportation and planning and economic development, recreation, and your PAC representative. Anyway, that was on July 31st. They talked about what the goals of the whole process are, including a new OP that will take into consideration the provincial policy statements, a housing assessment or a housing needs assessment, commercial brief update to our commercial plan, and the transportation management plan. There are going to be World Cafes in September, covering the 5 themes for this revamping of the document, including downtown revitalization, housing, sustainability, community spaces, transportation and connection, and sustainability. The first draft, they have a very aggressive agenda. The first draft, they think, will be available in February with one month about to review with council approval, hopefully in August of 2025. That's it.
Thank you,
It
Yvonne.
wasn't 30 minutes.
I was gonna make that comment.
Thanks, Yvonne. Our next meeting, Planning Advisory Committee meeting, September 12th, 2024. Adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Jay, thank you.
We are adjourned.
I'll just send a note off.